So, ciao everyone. Welcome to Creative Mornings Festival at Ciclo Mestruale edition. Welcome to our speaker for today, Federica. So this is a very strange edition, first of all, because we are not in a rush as we usually are, because we are usually late, but still in a rush every time because we have to go back to our work office or whatever. Today is Saturday, and it's the second day of the Festival of Menstrual Cycle, which is a festival that is at its fourth edition, hosted at Roadto50, which is this place here in Bovisa neighborhood in Milano. So I thank both of them, and I thank you for deciding to come both to Creative Mornings and to the Festival of Ciclo Mestruale this time. So the monthly theme is revival. We were briefly discussing the theme a moment ago with our speaker. Revival sounds vintage somehow, but it also means that sometimes we have things that we believe they are already old style, they are already somehow solved, but they are not. And this is also why we are here at the Festival of Ciclo Mestruale, and also Federica with Roadto50 is working on this theme too. So I let you discuss the revival thing, and welcome again. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Ciao a tutti, and so enjoy.
Thank you. For me, it's also the first Creative Morning, so thank you for inviting me. And you can stop me whenever if you have question or just also comments. I'm Federica Raiti. I'm here today representing as Vice President of the NGO Roadto50, and our goal, want to show the beautiful place, which is actually very, very beautiful. So what we do with Roadto50, we started around 2020. We are an NGO created during the pandemic, so it was everything online, and it started about discussing how equity and representation in politics works and how it doesn't work or it doesn't exist. So that the percentage, even in progressive parties, which were very small, still were very small. So I was no part of the team at the time, so my colleagues started discussing why, what are the reasons, and our goal is actually to work on those reasons and to try to get more women in, or not just women. We work on intersectional ways, so no binary, but also all the LGBTQ community. So to get them into politics, but politics not just as get into an election. And politics is everything. Politics is participation. It's doing activism. So, and also understand how public policy shapes our life daily. So that's the goal of Roadto50. So we have the part of, okay, go to politics because you are into politics, the politics that with the politician, if I say so, but also public policy. So shaping public policy, to protest, do activism, try to shape the city, the country, and the place where you are for the reason, for the fight that you are in. So participation as all. And we work on in public policy in an intersectional way. So we try to be as inclusive as possible and to see the different shades also of whatever topic we address. So, and in this discussion, 3 years ago, or maybe 3.5, this discussion started in a very long meeting in Rome. And our colleagues, they started talking about, I have to pay again 20 euros to get home. It was night, and they were living all in different places in Rome, and they had to go back home. So the discussion started, like I think this discussion has been done by our grandma, so revival, by my mom, by a lot of my friends as well, and by me as well. And so it was like, oh, but this situation is impossible again. But I don't get this bus, it's too dangerous. This situation is this area is completely unserved. I cannot go there. So I need to pay a taxi. So, and we started discussing later on in our main group about the topic. And we were not planning to do a campaign. It was a discussion. So how to address the problem. I'm an economist by training. So we started also to checking what kind of policy do we have? What kind of data do we have? And surprise, surprise, there was nothing. There was no public policy in the city that we checked. So in Italy mainly, because we started in Rome. There was no data, so no kind of data about harassment on public transport, related data on harassment or insecurity. Very few articles. And let's think that it was 4 years ago. So a lot has been changed in the meanwhile, or at least in the bubble, we think that has changed a bit, but still it was not a hype at the time. So we were discussing what we can do. And okay, let it go, I think.
Maybe we can just leave it.
So we started discussing how to address the problem. And since we wanted to have as many plural voices as possible, we started getting data. So we constructed a survey, and we tried with the survey to understand the situation or the perceived situation in Rome. And we started to understand that the people were so used to that, and they were not perceiving that as harassment, as a violence. So it was impossible to collect data, or at least we had a lot of discussion, but as well a lot of, but we are used to it. Everywhere is like that. It has been always like that. And it is something that you are used to. So it is something invisible and accepted by the danger as well. But I mean, I do perceive it completely different than you, and the news. So it's important to understand what are the problem, and if it's invisible, you cannot address it. And there was more of the discussion we had also with the public policymakers, so with then the transport company, and also with the municipality, not just of Rome, but of other cities as well. So they saying, okay, it's a problem that everybody knows, but at the same time, if you raise this problem, do I make my transport system more dangerous or more insecure? Actually not, because you can address the topic and do reverse it. But it was perceived also, highlighting it make it maybe perceived as more dangerous, which you already have actually. So it's been a whole process. It's not a campaign. We do call it as a framework or a strategy for the topic, which is harassment on public transport, but not just, on different aspects. I said we started with discussion on public policy, then we went to data collection. So we had the survey in Rome in 2021, and we have started the survey again. It's right now we are collecting data in Rome again. At the same time, we started talking with a lot of people, because we understood that raising awareness was actually needed, because otherwise we cannot talk about the topic, we cannot collect data, we cannot discuss with the policymaker either. So how do we raise awareness? It was two ways. We started with having a campaign, which was actually a communication company who created a campaign for us, with a no victim blaming slogan, but it's really clear what is going on. So having poster around the city to just talk about it, just to make it visible to everybody. On the other side, we started to create, because we do collaborate and we do work in a network with the women's shelter or women houses. There is a lot of names for that, but let's call it women's shelter. They are the people dealing every day with violence of every kind of way, on every kind of level. And together with them, we have collaborated and shaped formal and informal training for schools and for public transport. So we go to schools, we talk with mainly high schools. So we talk with their adolescents, so between 15 and 18 usually, and we talk about the topic. You do see directly with the class, with the group of adolescents, the teenager, how they split directly, how usually female socialized people have already had harassment on public transport and not just, and the other part of the group mainly not, but also men who have been erased, but they were not allowed by the society to say so. Or let me explain it better. It is a tiny way to let them explain and to understand that what they've actually had or experienced was harassment as well. But since they were men, they were not perceiving it as such. So we had a lot of very, very interesting discussion with them. And after that, a lot of other topics went. We discussed with them, which are related to the topic. Gender violence as such, but also how they recognize what they've done has been not correct to someone. So we had a lot of people coming later to us to share their experience, sometimes also very tough experience. And we are also accompanied by the women's shelter, which are then also in charge later on to help them in the city, but also because we have a national and European organization, we cannot be physically in all the city all the time. So they need to have someone in the place that can actually address the topic and help them. And at the same time, also sharing that there is this place, because especially young people, they think, or not just, think that a women's shelter are actually just for very, very extreme violence, maybe domestic violence, and so they don't know what they're offering, how many courses and other options they have inside their centers. So it was also a key to share there is a place for you if you need, or if you feel that you need it. It has not to be as extreme as you thought, or whatever you have perceived and you need, then there are people trained there for helping you. So it's been a key to address a lot of different topics. And also by going to, we started, the campaign is now in Messina, in Bologna, and in Rome in different levels. So we have started, for example, in Bologna, we've been also, we did the training also for the public transport. So it's the most advanced, let's say. We're starting to do so next week in Messina as well. We've been in the school in Rome 1 month ago around. So in every city, we have different activities going on. And I'm trying, or we are trying as a group also to go to other cities, so to make awareness. That's why I'm here in Milan as well, but also in Turin and in other cities in Italy, and not just in Italy. So we collaborate also with other international and European organizations on the topic, and to work together as a network, not just in Rome and Messina, and not just people who are working with gender-related issues, but with everybody who recognize the issues as important, and to connect also with how you want to live your city. So you want to be in a city which is inclusive, with no violence, and where you feel that the city is actually there for you. So how it is a city shaped, who has created it, how it has been planned, who has decided to plan the city as it is, it's actually a matter of public policy and policy making decision that has been done in the past 50 years. And who has done that? Probably politicians in their middle career, or in the end of middle age, let's say. Mainly, if we see the numbers are men, probably see they are heterosexual. So there is not that much of plural policies in the public making, in the public in the public policy making, and that's how you see it in the structural problems as well. So I was talking all the time about harassment, but also how you shape the city, how the transport, the public transport has been planned. It reflects those kind of thought, or this kind of planning. How, for example, care mobility is not included in the policy, in the structure of the city as well. So, for example, we have in Bologna, we've seen that some women's shelter, they didn't have a bus stop. So it means that no one has thought that probably someone needs to go there. But or usually the one that are underserved are women's shelters, some hospitals which are maybe minor, or sorry, or some schools, or that they are, for example, not served. Because the idea was, by planning, me going out to go to work and coming back. So commuting is actually the main data that we have to shape and to construct our city. So a lot of the care work, a lot of other needs of the city are not included in the public policy decision to create a city, to rebuild the city. A lot of cities are trying to do so now. Or in Milano, for example, there was a study 2 years ago about how to the Milan, or also in Bologna, is just been published, how the city is perceived, what are the issues between communities. Because you can, for example, also construct a new biking line, but in a district where the people cannot go or cannot go or cannot ride a bike. So all the social aspect and an economical aspect of a district or a part of the city has to be included as well in the construction and the planning. So I'm gonna breathe now. Do you have any questions about it, or something which is unclear, or I was too quick? Or
I believe it's perfect. Also, so one thing we as Creative Mornings wants to underline every time is exactly our motto, that is behind you, so everyone is welcome. It sounds usually like a very basic statement, something no, obvious, but it's not. And it's not in subtle ways that many people cannot see. Uh, and maybe one of the responsibility of our communities who are trying to make actually everyone welcome is also to point out these things, but also to act. Because,
exactly.
Pointing out, it's not easy anyway, because you have to put yourself out there, but that's not enough.
Yes, actually, through the campaign, it's a way also to understand how something which is very far away from when you talk about gender-related topics, for example, has transport and urban, which is usually a very male-dominated sector, to see how even topics which are far from what are close in the mind of the people, I'm not saying that they are not, but how intersectional, working on intersectional way or lens or gender lens in the public policy, that can be applied to every kind of sector or every kind of topic. So that's of the transport, public transport is also a way to show whatever you are thinking it was neutral, it is not neutral. It's maybe neutral for you, but not for a lot of other people who are living the city differently, at night, a day, in a different district. So to try to perceive and to collect as many voices as possible in the community for this case, but in general, in whatever is the topic relevant for you. So be part of the decision making, be part of activism, be part of whatever association or district level communication or event that you have, because you're gonna also see it with another perspective. I mean, I wasn't feminist. I wasn't for quotas because I thought meritocracy was the way, and then I understood that it was bullshit. let's let's put it this way. I was a bit young and naive, and coming with from a sector which is economy, where neutral data are actually usually the way to to sell some decisions which are actually not very inclusive and not very 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 thought. Let's put it this way, because I'm not gonna be impolite for other people. So it's the discussion, then understanding the collective, the community work can shape and change your perception and your view of the city as well. So what we do, it's actually to start in a new city, for example, to raise awareness like here, to collaborate with a lot of associations which are not just related to transport or to gender, but generally who are active in the city, who want to change things, who want to also learn from other. So build a network where we are and have synergies with them. So get out of the bubble, let's say. We are still in the bubble a bit here, but still not really related topic. There is no transport related topic, but still that policy shapes whatever you are, whatever topics you are addressing. At the same time, we try to convince policymakers that is an issue which has been addressed, which has to be addressed. So if you are in policy related issues related, you do policy work, you do lobbying, you do whatever related to policy, so to try to get in contact with the municipality and as well with schools. We start actually also a lot with talking to schools, and they see it also as a good key to talk about violence without addressing as a topic itself, but with something that even younger they already experience. So as a good key to enter this and start talking about violence at early age. So if you have any contact of any kind of this, or if you want just to talk about the campaign somewhere, so we work as a network. So we are welcoming whatever you would like to share with us.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
I
go.
have a question. No,
Yeah,
it's
question.
like it was what 2-3 years that you were doing that, right?
Yes, we started in 2021. Yeah.
Okay. What were like the biggest challenges in your point of view, or like I mean, do they still today as previously, or just to understand the
So,
history basically?
I mean, now there is a lot more discussion on it. I think a lot of other also not just us, but other association and or the topic has been addressed much more.
Mm-hmm.
When we started, there was almost no actors, or they were starting as well at the same time. But I think that's we do work with as a network, so that's actually a value added. So if someone is talking and raising the point, we are fine with it. It's also empowering the campaign. The most I addressed it before is the idea that addressing an invisible topic or problem makes the city more insecure. That's actually the most difficult part. So in the moment where you talk with someone and say, yeah, but then, because when you see the data, actually, the perception and what is happening, it's a mismatch. So actually, harassment and violence is there is a lot of also underrepresentation and not as many reporting as it should be. But let's believe the data as it is. There is a decrease of violence generally, or extreme violence. Let's call it like that. So there is a lot of underreporting as well. But the thing is, if you perceive as this place as insecure and you don't see anything happening for that, you are still actually having or restricting your security and at the same time your freedom to move in a city, which is actually also constitutional law. You should actually be free to do whatever you like in a city and in any other place. So you are restricting actually my right to be free in a city. And when we do say, okay, addressing the topic is actually a solution for that, it's been perceived as, no, you make a case out of it, it's going to be even perceived more insecure than the data are saying. And it's like, one, you are not actually collecting the data right. So you are based on what exactly? You're based. So decision makers really the most difficult step.
Okay.
Yeah, to address as a public policy issue, because you can make awareness is still easier than go to a table and say, look, you have to do something. You have to discuss it on a much broader level. You have maybe to rethink and redesign your city, which is also a matter of money or budget.
Is there any city that you know that is addressing it?
There is Bologna and Milan. There are two cities that are working on that. Florence as well a bit. Torino is working. We are not in Turin. We are not. The campaign is not been launched, but we're doing a lot of awareness there as well. Messina is working on that. There is a lot of structural problems that makes the city different. So the composition of the districts or of the awareness of the people, of the cultural traits in the city as well. So whatever I'm doing in Milan is not what I'm doing in Messina. Not in the same way, and not with the same talk, and not with the same. So there's been a lot of openness, so that a lot of people also approaching because they have felt it and they could not put a label on it. So for years, also talking with, let's say, the other part of the population. So it's an intergenerational problem that has been. We did a company training 2 years ago, and they were very surprised about having this training, because they were actually, it was an alcohol company. They were doing high percent alcohol liquor. So it was a training which is not the usual, right? So we start talking, and the men were a bit like, okay, well, I'm here because maybe I supposed to or I have to. And the women start talking and saying, yeah, I bought a car for this reason. So they started, I didn't address this point, but in the freedom part that I was mentioning, it also, it limits you not just entertaining, let's say, part of the city. So a lot of people think about nightlife or movida, as someone call it, or going out as such. No, it's actually a problem also. How do I go to work? Some people work also at night and they have no option to go to work. They have to buy a car. Or also economically, nice, I can live in Milano Centro. I have all the options as possible, but at a certain time I cannot afford it, so I move a bit further to the city. So not having a proper connection to some of the part of the city, it limits my option of what kind of work do I do and where this actually located. There's a lot of working remotely now, but still it's still a big issue to go to some places from north to south, and so, because usually you have I'm not an architect or an urbanist, but when you see the cities, it's actually from the outside to the center mainly. So probably I'm it's much easier to go from here to Milano Centro than going in this direction where I have to pick up my kids or to go to the doctor.
center, then go back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So because those lines have been not considered as such. So it is very difficult also to address. You cannot reconstruct the metro of this, or of the continent or outside, but you can maybe put a bus stop, where we actually, for example, achieved in Bologna or in other cities. So you can rethink some lines as well. So, and the more feedback you have from the population, the more you can for sure also address other things that I don't. That's also why we work on a network, so especially on a local network, because I'm Sicilian. I live in Turin. I never lived in Milan. What do I know what Bovisian people need? I have no idea. I can give you my tools or the campaign, but it's actually your voice has to speak, not mine, who I am. So yeah, so that's a bit of our concept as well. So we do try to make the case as big as possible, but it's actually the local who have to be empowered and try to make their voice bigger, that their need had been addressed at the end. Yeah. So I think I've covered.
This is the time when the Creative Mornings team says we are not going to take another election in Milan. But yes, this is and also this is often instrumentalized to manipulate some information. I don't remember if we talked about that. I was reading a report on the use of public transportation recently, and it looks like rich people are more environment aware because they use more public transportation than low-income people. But that's why, because low-income people usually don't live in the most served area in the city, so it doesn't mean. But then it seems that low income somehow it created a link between environment awareness and use of public transportation that is not there.
It's also with active mobility, when you see the percentage probably of people who are working in the city center can live in the city center. They can use also they can walk or they can drive, they can ride to work. But if I work outside, I need to commute to my place. I cannot go by bike. It's impossible for me. So and transport usually it's also perceived from, okay, if you are environmental friendly, you use it, or if you are very poor. The middle class is usually, as soon as I can afford a car, because it is a pain to take the public transport, which is supposed not to be, I gonna buy a car because it's the only way that I can get normally and safe and quick to work. Then maybe I'm queuing 2 hours afterwards. But the idea is actually but the idea behind, we had a lot of discussion about it's not me that has to feel insecure to fight. Okay, so if I'm a woman, have the kids and I have to go to a place where with public transport it takes 2 hours. My car is 20 minutes, and I have also my kids with me. So I would like to take the public transport, but I have no tools to do so. So I feel maybe guilty, but I have just this option. But the option that I have is to raise my voice and say, look, it doesn't work. I don't have any other choice. I would do so, but I need a car to do what I have to do with my kids, to bring them to school, to go to my work, because you don't provide me with the public transport I need to not pollute. So it's not a individual, because especially when it goes to environmental topics, it is okay, individual have the power. I completely agree with that, but at a certain point, if you don't give me the tools to fight it, sometimes I'm gonna use the other one because there is no other option, and not because I want to pollute, but because a policy doesn't provide me with what I need. So as a citizen, when I vote, when I do activism, when I work in whatever, that's the moment where I have the right and the power to maybe make some change. I know that it seems like very utopical sometimes, but we do still have a democracy. I don't know for how long. We can still try to pick the best we think we have.
So I don't know if there are
I have some curiosity.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was interesting hearing your stories about like raising awareness and like I feel like you were advocating this issue to a lot of people, like in the school, even in with the locals. Maybe this is just my cultural bias speaking, but I feel like at least in the society where I came from, raising issues about like sexual harassment, gender violence is something that is seen as a taboo.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, like, did you receive like a backlash or maybe some resistance from these people? And how would you approach, like, what would be the best way if you are trying to advocate these topics to the people who has this mindset? Like culturally, it was taboo, like they don't think it's important, this kind of issues? Like, what would be the best way? Because like I know like your visions is also try to make this awareness internationally, not only in Europe or maybe in Italy. So yeah, I'm really curious about that.
May I ask you where are you from?
I'm from Indonesia.
Okay, I have the perfect example because
Okay.
we did a talk with an Indonesian
Oh.
association,
Okay.
which is raising exactly the same topic,
Yeah.
and they started as well as us to collect survey
Mhm.
and we didn't do it today because it was impossible. I mean, it wasn't impossible, but it was no part. But something that we did also physically in places where we are not in the bubble, let's say, it's to have a list of things that you perceived in the city. The activity, it's called Walk of Privilege, and you split in the public space. So what I've been talking today is more about the campaign, about how we do it, because it was how I wanted to have my 20 minutes. But that's a problem of perception of public space, no? So we do work a lot with public space and the perception, and it is very cultural normed. And Italy and Indonesia are completely two different cultures, and addressing those topics can be very difficult also in another country. So, but when you show it directly, so I do a list of things that I may perceive, maybe also not saying what is gender related topics, but how I feel. Have you experienced, have you not experienced, what have you done, those kind of stuff. And you see in a place which can be a square or whatever, where people are splitting, and then you see exactly how the race segregation, the gender segregation. So I don't need to say these words, but you see it physically how public space is perceived differently, which is related to religion, to the color of your skin, to where are you from, to also where you live. And I know that in Indonesia they've started doing this survey without addressing some of the topic because of the cultural traits which cannot be addressed, but also with a lot of activists which were working on other topics while addressing public space issues. But I know that also there is changing. So more and more gender related issues has been addressed, especially for the job market, let's say. So discrimination on what is money related, because economics makes it always if you get so in the past 10 years, I think, when it's related to work related issues, so you do a lot of this relation. So when you have like a tipping point on a issue, you use it also to normal or to make awareness on another one which is maybe related. So how do you go to work? Why do you not pick the public transport? I'm not sure if it was in Indonesia, but in other countries, for example, they've tried to do public transport segregation. So putting, for example, some trains or some buses just for women, which I'm not a big fan of, but also as an Italian perspective, for us is not the solution. But I can understand that sometimes to address the topic now and give an opportunity at least for now, till you do all the awareness and all the rest of the campaigning, is maybe the key or the only solution for people to move secure, say in safety. So I know that India has done it. I don't know about Indonesian, but I can send you the link and the contact of the association doing a lot of work in Indonesian about it. But that's why we are also part of this network, because we just did also another awareness speak for a Mexican university, and I have no idea about Mexico. I haven't been in Mexico, so I did a very general. I took some data from Mexico as well, but the idea is also to have then their feedback. So what I've done, how do you perceive it? What are the topics? And they in the Q&A at the end, they told me, for example, look, there is some button that the university installed, which makes a bit of this kind of safe space. So if you have any issue, you can, it's this button I can press, and for me it has increased at least the perceived security in the environment. With public transport, there is a lot of other things going on, which is much more unpredictable, unfortunately, than maybe in a safe space like in the university. But working in a network like the one we are, it's how you can exchange best practices. So also in Italy as well, I know how to talk with people my age, probably with my cultural background, but at the time where I'm going to a place where I'm not saying that I'm not welcome, but not perceived as a representative of the culture of the community. I'm not the person who should address the topic. Should be a peer in that regard. Maybe older, maybe from another race, maybe in another language as well. So that's not just for our campaign. In general, when you do campaign and you try to have community work, that's how you address those differences. And having, as I say, local allies, it's the only way to better understand the needs of the people there. And since our campaign is let's say the ground is public space, and how public space is perceived differently, especially by women, which is an historical fact. So see also what are the structure of the society in this perspective. What is the role of women or other communities in the public space in the region? So in political issues, but also in religion, when you talk about what is the role of women in religion, what are their rights, how free are they? So in another kind of talk, for example, I do to a background of how women have been perceived historically by publics in the public space. And I don't want to start another talk, but just these two things which are for me interesting. In Europe, at least, there was two ways in the 19th centuries to be perceived: either in the during day as a woman who is going to do shopping, so you were outside to buy something, or at night, because you could be outside for this part of the day for these two reasons mainly. At night, if you are selling your body. So being in a public space for a lot of years meant actually being a sex worker at the same time, and that has constructed a lot of our problem of sexualized bodies and as women in the European society, and not just. And you have the cultural part coming from the religion, and I'm not going to address that because you have all the religion addressing the woman as actually sexualized body, at least the main religion. So the patriarchism is spread in all the religion, unfortunately, and the political, how far and when they enter determinate roles in policy. So where they have, and if they have, because in a lot of countries they don't even have the right to be politician or to speak up or to go outside alone. So all those aspects has to be considered a lot in the discussion. So and with that
we stop here.
It was not 20 minutes.
Continue, of course. It's just like
yes.
for the recording.
Exactly. So bye, who everyone is
Bye.
looking at us. Probably
45.
no one.
Oh my God.